各位贵宾，欢迎参加经济部国际贸易局委托外贸协会举办的2022西欧 Hybrid 拓销团暨论坛。此次线上论坛以欧洲生技医疗趋势及绿色产业趋势与净零碳排实务以及对台合作建议为主题。非常荣幸邀请到5位来自德国、意大利、法国、荷兰及西班牙的讲师来做分享，内容一定非常精彩。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2022 Western Europe B2B meetings and forum today. Our speakers from Europe today will be sharing their takes on biotechnology and medical trends, green industry, and net zero carbon emissions practices. Also, the cooperation with Taiwan. We look forward to their talks. 今日的论坛将以当地生技医疗趋势及国际对台合作建议，以及医疗机构或大型生医商采购实务分享来开启。首先，第一场专题由德国 Medforce One 公司资深顾问 Mr. Manuel Neuer 分享。Neuer 先生已在医疗行业工作超过15年，精通国际行销及法规事务，常年协助台湾医疗器材商进入德国各层次供应链，且熟谙欧盟 MDR 及医材执照取得等相关规定。我们来听他的分享。It's time for the first keynote speech today. Mr. Manuel Neuer has been working in the medical industry for over 15 years. He's an international sales, marketing, and regulatory affairs expert. Moreover, he has lived in Taipei for 4 years before, and therefore has a rich understanding on the needs and cultures of Taiwanese companies. Over to you, Mr. Manuel Neuer.
Hello, and a very good day to you. This is Manuel Neuer. I am coming from Germany, and I'm working for the company Medforce One. I'm a managing partner there, and today I'm very pleased to be able to present here at the TITRA organization some information about the medical device markets in Europe. First of all, a very quick overview of what we are doing. We are a Swiss-based company called Medforce One, and we are active in digital business development, beyond sales business, and of course, regulatory affairs. At the end, sales and market for the European markets as well as international markets. Based out of Switzerland, my name is Manuel. I did live in Taipei for almost 4 years, and I had a very good memory of my time in Taiwan with very nice people and very good food, and you have a really beautiful country. So it's my pleasure to be here today and explain a little bit about the MDR and the medical markets in Europe. We also offer so-called European Authorized Representative, EC-Rep service. It's a company called OREPS. It's registered in Germany because Germany, of course, is in the European Union. Switzerland is not part of the European Union. So any Taiwanese company who wants to go into the European market actually needs to be having an EC-Rep, which can be either a company, third party, or your own authorized company or your subsidiary in Europe. Today's topic will be medical device regulation and European medical markets, some important information and impact for Taiwanese companies of the MDR. And again, I would like to thank TITRA to give me the opportunity to be here today. The following will be discussed during the short talk today. It will be some facts about the European medical markets, major changes of the MDR, the medical device regulation, and of course, what will be the main impact for Taiwanese companies with regards to the European Medical Device Regulation, MDR. The first chapter will be about European medical markets, a quick facts and quick overview for everyone to get a little bit more familiar with the medical markets here. So this is a map of Europe. You see there are a lot of different countries, including the biggest market for medical devices in Europe, which is Germany. So in the year 2020, the whole market, medical device market, was estimated around 140 billion euros turnover. It's a huge industry sector in Europe, because around 67,000 companies, including small businesses, are actually active in the medical device industries, with about 700,000 employees in total. And 95% of these companies active in the medical device market as medical manufacturers or medical device distributors. These are around 95% are so-called SMEs, small, medium enterprises. As you can see here, Germany has been the biggest market, and we will have a quicker look about this in the next slides. A question always asked is, what is the total expenditure on medical technology per capita in Europe, and what is the percentage spent of this? And we have around 265 euros per capita in Europe. But we need to consider that Europe actually consists of various different countries with a lot of different economic strength. And in total, around 11% of the GDP is spent on healthcare. It's a lot less as compared to, for example, the US, where around 17 to 18% of the total GDP is spent on the healthcare market. A little bit more about what does it mean? What are the main items in the medical device sector? So the biggest part is inpatient, outpatient care and others. And the medical technology is around 7.6% of the total healthcare expenditure. So we got inpatient and outpatient care as the number one. Number two would be the pharmaceuticals market, and then the medical technology market. Just a small hint, all the data provided will be including the UK, even though that, of course, after Brexit, the UK won't be part of the European Union, but still it's a medical device market close to the European Union and important for all the Taiwanese companies looking into entering the European markets. Coming to the sizes of the different markets, we got Germany as the biggest market in Europe, followed by France, and the third is UK. And what you can see on the left side is around 25.6%, which is about 1/4 of the total healthcare expenditure for medical devices. Medical devices is actually from Europe, followed by France around 15, and then we got UK. This data is to compare a little bit the European market with the other markets in the world. So in total, we can say that today, around 40% of the total medical device market is actually the US. So the US is definitely the biggest market when it comes to medical devices and medical equipment. Second biggest would be Europe. If we take Europe as a complete part of the world, then Europe would be second. And number three is People's Republic of China. What does it mean? It means that if you take out the different countries like Europe, there are different countries, as we said. You can say that the biggest market would be the US, already followed by the People's Republic of China. And then then Japan would follow, and after that it would be Germany. How about the growth rates in the European medical markets? So actually, it's not a real growing market. It's an interesting market still for a lot of Taiwanese companies, and also, of course, other medical companies from all over the world who want to enter the European market. But the growth rate has been stable by around 2% over the past 10 years. In 2009, we had the economic crisis. You might remember we had a short fall in the expenditure, and then of course in the year 2019, when the pandemic started, the lot of expenditure has also changed to the different parts. What does it mean? We got a lot of different items here, and you can see in the year 2020, in the pandemics, we had, like also in Taiwan, all elective surgeries have been postponed. And that means that we had maybe a growth in some items, but like orthopedics and prosthetics was a minus. Apart from that, all the different sectors in the medical device industry are constantly growing. And it's expected that this growth will continue, even though that there is war right now in Europe, and then there might be an economic crisis. Still, a growth is expected because of aging population in the European Union. Small short hint about the IVD market, the in vitro diagnostic device market. We also got top 3 in Europe. Number 1 would be Germany, followed by France, and then Italy, and then followed by others. The IVD market is actually also growing very slow. However, you can see in the year 2020, we had a big jump, which is very clear. So 2020 and 2021, we had a lot of items like PCR tests or quick tests to test the COVID-19. And that, of course, has built a lot of growth into the IVD market. However, apart from that, it's more or less a stagnant market. Europe still gets a lot of imported medical devices, of course, and we got the US being the biggest importer to Europe, followed by the People's Republic of China. So these are the biggest suppliers to the European markets, as we can see here. So the world map, and in the middle we have the European markets. Export destinations, it's also important to know. Of course, also in Taiwanese hospitals, we got a lot of medical equipment which is made in the European Union, whether it would be French items or medical devices made in Germany. So there's a lot of export, and the biggest export markets for European devices are currently the US, followed by China. A little bit about the differences in the countries. As we said before, Germany is the biggest country, and it's also the biggest exporter and importer of medical devices. And you can see there's a huge gap between countries like Germany and Sweden, Czech Republic, where there are less items to be traded. And of course, we got a lot of items, a lot of markets with a so-called positive trade balance, and this is Germany, Ireland, Netherlands, and Switzerland. All these countries mentioned here are actually exporting more medical devices than importing into the European Union. We also got some with negative trade balance, and you can see that especially France, even though that France has some very innovative and good medical manufacturers, still they import more than they export. So they get the biggest actually trade deficit when it comes to medical device items. Very important for Taiwanese companies also, because that means that most probably France could be a very nice market to attack for different reasons. The top 3 trading partners for the European Union are USA, China, and Japan. So those are the biggest trading partners. Of course, Taiwan is also a very good trading partner for the European Union, but still, because of the population and country size, we got the US and China with a lot more inhabitants as compared to 23 million Taiwanese citizens. A little bit about the latest medical device regulation, how we call it. Before that, it was the so-called MDD, the Medical Device Directive, and now we have the Medical Device Regulation active in the European markets. And I will give you a short overview, really just a quick update on what is happening here. So first of all, one of the major changes in comparison to earlier regulations in the European market is that now the responsibilities for manufacturers, importers, and distributors have been changed, and they have been clarified. In the past, there was a lot of questioned whether this or that is valid, and now the European Union tries to get the things more easy and more strict, so that everyone is able to have the right items made into the MDR, Medical Device Regulation. It's also applicable for the IVD market. Here we call it the IVDR, which is the in vitro diagnostic regulation. And these stricter rules also apply. However, MDR and IVDR, there are completely different items, which companies, manufacturers from Taiwan have actually to check. The responsibilities of the European Authorized Representative, the so-called EC-Rep, has been changed a lot. We always highlight this because now the European Authorized Representative is equally liable for defect items, for example, as the manufacturer. So this would mean, for example, for a Taiwanese company manufacturing items in Taiwan and not having their own subsidiary for sales in the European Union, it's very important to find the right partner for the European authorized representative, because they might also be responsible, and these responsibilities have increased a lot. What is the impact for the Taiwanese company? That's of course something which for you will be very interesting and very important to know. And that's why we have highlighted a couple of points here, showing that there is some impact for Taiwanese companies as well. So the main item, actually, what is the main impact for actually Taiwanese companies, but also European companies? So even a company like a medical device manufacturer based in Germany has the same bigger problems now while entering the European market. And the biggest change actually is that all the pre-market and post-market follow-up has been changed, and there are a lot more detailed regulations applicable to clinical data and clinical regulations, the so-called CER, a clinical evaluation report. And this is something which meets actually a lot of advantages, a lot of difficulties for different companies while going into the MDR and get the products approved according to MDR regulation. As we said, the clinical data requirements would be very strict. Post-market requirements are very difficult to implement. Also here, it's very important that you have a clear strategy on how to do it with the post-market requirement. And here, this point is very important. That's actually the most important and the most challenging part for most of the Taiwanese companies we are in touch with. It's a recertification of existing products. So that could mean that a company selling in Germany or selling into the European markets for many years already, with a lot of nice feedback from the users. However, you still need to do a completely new clinical evaluation for this product, even though that maybe you have old data. So this is something which is really challenging and needs a lot of time. So it's time consuming, and therefore time means money. It's a very challenging part for any Taiwanese company. So what are the other items? As we said, it's more about the post-market clinical follow-up. So we have highlighted here a few points like the post-market clinical follow-up, PMPF. Then we have the post-market surveillance, the PMS. And there have been some documents with some strict requirements now. It's the so-called PMS plan and PMS report. We got the PSUR, the periodic safety update report, and then the PMCF plan and report, and the so-called SSCP, clinical evaluation and risk management. This is all under actually review. So companies, Taiwanese as well as European companies, have to reassess their access to the markets. What does it mean at the end? At the end, it means for a manufacturer based in Taiwan or any other country who wants to get the CE mark according to the MDR regulations, most probably you would need more resources in the RA department. And we all know that finding very good regulatory affairs staff is quite challenging. It could happen that you even have to put more resources into R&D and quality management in general because of, for example, post-market follow-up, but also during the R&D of new products, there are stricter requirements as before. And a lot of the times what we have been facing is that a lot of Taiwanese companies are a little reluctant to invest more into the European RA procedures because they find that the US market, for example, is easier to access, and therefore there's a lot of focus more into US markets. However, we expect there's a lot of growth still in the European markets, so we still consider that also for Taiwanese companies, we got a lot of potentials into selling into the EU. Before we actually come to an ending, I would like to give one more hint with regards to Taiwanese manufacturers, how to go for the medical device regulation. And here we really have a big issue which affects all companies active in the medical device market. We got a so-called shortage of notified bodies. In the past, for MDD, we had a lot of different notified bodies in different countries who could also check your, for example, Taiwanese manufacturer, all the quality management and the technical files. And now this number has shrunk a lot to, at the moment, 32 notified bodies available, 8 based in Germany, 8 in Italy, 3 out of Netherlands, and in other European countries we got 13. And this means that maybe your old notified body you have been working with maybe even for the last couple of years or maybe even decades might not be able to get your product notified according to MDR regulations. And this could actually mean that you need to find a new notified body. And that's actually a very difficult task because we got less notified bodies available. And why is this such a big issue, and why are European companies as well as Taiwanese companies very afraid of this situation? Actually, you can see here. Right now we are in the year 2022, and we have still valid certificates from MDD, which are around 1,848. So these are all expiring this year, and next year we will even have more certificates expiring. And in the year 2024, the last year where the MDD is still active, we got a lot of certificates expiring. So around 7,000 certificates will be expiring in 2024. And now we all have to imagine that all these documents, all these certificates expiring in 2023 and 2024 have to be reassessed. And this means that you might have to find, as we said, a new notified body. But even if you have an existing notified body, they might not have enough time. So that's why it's very important now to start to make all the technical files already ready according to MDR, try to update as soon as possible, and try to get re-audits done as soon as possible, even if your certificate might be valid into the year 2024. Time is now. Try to get your products reassessed in case you won't be able to sell into the European market, and that would be very sad or very challenging for your company. Yeah, one more important point to highlight this, around 80% of all products are not yet MDR certified, so this will be a lot of challenges in the next 1, 2, and 3 years until 2024. And in 2024, we all need to be MDR ready. Short conclusion. Due to regulatory affairs hurdles in Europe, Taiwanese medical device companies might reconsider their European marketing strategy and align it with fitting regulatory affairs strategy. This could mean, for example, thinking about not selling all the existing products still into the European market. And what we have found is that a lot of companies are underestimating the need for a speedy implementation of MDR. And that's why, one last word from my side, please try to assess, in case you really want to focus on the European market, try to assess as early as possible whether your company has all the items ready to get MDR certified in the next couple of 2 years, actually. This was it about a very short, quick introduction. Just I hope it is helpful for you sitting in the auditorium and listening to this, and I could explain a little bit about the challenges. In case there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly, and of course Taitra will also be very happy to assist you. Once again, thank you very much for you, everyone here listening to my short speech. And thank you again, Taitra, for giving me this opportunity to share some insights of the European markets. Thank you very much.
谢谢 Noah 先生的分享。第二场演说由意大利米兰理工大学管理工程系研究员 Deborah De Cesare 小姐分享。 De Chisale 小姐自2016年以来一直在米兰理工大学的数位创新观察站工作。该观察站旨在分析和促进数位技术，作为改进异国医疗保健相关参考。该站研究是异国医疗产业决策者的重要参考来源。让我们来听听她的分享。Next, let's welcome Ms. Deborah De Chisale to deliver her speech. Ms. De Chisale has been working at the Digital Innovation Observatories of Polimi, carrying out projects on digital health and innovation in the life science sector. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Deborah De Cesare. I'm a senior researcher in the Digital Health and Life Science Innovation Observatories of Politecnico di Milano. These observatories are a research center that were born some years ago in the Management Engineering Department of Politecnico, and they try to study the impact of technologies and innovation in general on the healthcare sector, if we look at the Digital Health Observatory, or in the life science sector, so analyzing the impact on pharma, medtech, and biotech companies. We try to understand which are also the hot topic and the hot trends of innovation in each of these markets. So, for example, some of the most interesting issues and themes to be analyzed in the Digital Health Observatories have to do with telemedicine, with healthcare hubs, or AI for decision support systems. On the other hand, for example, in Life Science Innovation Observatory, we analyze the impact of technology in the research and development process in pharma and medtech companies, and the role, for example, of the decentralized clinical trial or innovative products, so for example, digital therapeutics or advanced therapeutics and so on. So my objective today is to present you some of the most interesting results of our last research that we closed in June and July, and to give you the representation of what is the Italian context on these themes. So a very important introduction has to do, for example, with the recovery plan or the Recovery and Resilience National Plan, so PNNR, which is a reform that since last year is really shaping the market, not only in digital health and life science issue, but also on other sectors and reforms. But it's really important because it's giving a lot of resources to the sectors that I represented before, so healthcare sectors, but also transport, also public administration, and so on. And a lot of these investments are really shaping the market. So we start from this analysis of the recovery plan to understand where and what issues in particular are included in this plan in order to understand what will be the main changes in the Italian market in the next years, because the recovery plan aims to give some reforms and reshaping of markets since 2025. So the main components of Mission 6, that is dedicated to healthcare system, is represented in these slides. In the first component, we find some themes regarding the telemedicine, the proximity networks, and assistance, healthcare assistance near to patients' home. 7 billion euro are given to this component. The component 2, instead, is focused on reinforcing the healthcare structure. So we're talking about hospitals, so more structure and better structure will be formed in next years, but also technological infrastructure. So in these components, there are, for example, some reforms focused on digitalization of the national healthcare system. So 80.63 billion will be dedicated of euros will be dedicated to reinforcing the healthcare system and also the digitalization of these infrastructure. So some of our main key topics of research are really matching these reforms. For example, I had inserted in the second part of the slide some of the key issues, so telemedicine to support the chronic patients, development of digital skills for healthcare professionals, but also reinforcements of infrastructure and digitalization of the system. So I will give you some of our results of our research for supporting these arguments, and also to understand where are the main gaps that will see the most important investment in next years. I start from telemedicine. This is a really key topic at an international level, but also at Italian level, because during the COVID pandemic, it was really important to have these telemedicine services to continue to assist some patients and to support healthcare professionals to communicate, for example, in a remote way. So really, all the actors of the system understood how important it is to invest in a really organization reform in order to include telemedicine in our healthcare system. So 1 billion euros is focused really and dedicated to telemedicine. The objective and the target to be reached by 2025 is to reach at least 200,000 people by telemedicine with telemedicine services. This is challenging, of course, for our context, but it will be really important to work in these years to reach these objectives, because otherwise, like it's the actual situation, there will be just some best practice that are isolated and not let's say, reached at the system level. And so the benefits connected with telemedicine will not be reached by the healthcare system. So we are going and we are making the first steps in order to reach these objectives, like, for example, build a platform at national level in order to offer telemedicine services to patients in a homogeneous way. And some reforms also to the territory, like MD 71 is the number of the laws in Italy that are going to give precise guidelines to the territorial actors, such as nurses and structures on the local level, that will use also digital technologies to reach patients. This data summarized how much the medical specialists and general practitioners, so healthcare professionals in Italy, use and are interested in using the telemedicine services. We reported televisit and telemonitoring such as two of the most important services of telemedicine, but they are not only the only ones, but they are really representative, because we can see that before the pandemic, so in 2021, we gathered data that demonstrated that at least the 5-10% of healthcare professionals ever used televisit or telemonitoring. So the level of usage was really limited, was really low. Then, as I said before, the COVID pandemic made us think about the possibility to use digital technologies at a general level, and so telemedicine in this specific context. And the usage really increased. So we have 40% more or less of professionals that ever use a televisit in order to visit their patients, or the 28% of medical specialists, but the 43% of general practitioners that use telemonitoring to assist their patients. And it's really important because also COVID patients were monitored by apps or softwares that allowed the professional to keep some parameters under control, such as the cardiac parameters or oxygen level in blood. But also other kind of patients, like chronic patients, that are really important to be monitored continuously over time, were monitored by general practitioners through these technologies. So COVID pandemic, as I said before, give us the possibility, let's say, and constraint to use this technology. In last year, so in 2022, we see a decrease of the level of usage because we are slowly coming back to a normality situation. So it's normal to see a decrease in the level of use of this technology, but it's an increase if we compare it to the pre-pandemic level. But it's really important to see the level of interest for the future, so the arrow that you see on the right, because more or less the 60%, we start from 50, then to 60% of professionals are interested in using these technologies in the future. Because they see which are they are starting to see which are the benefits in using these technologies, such as efficiency benefits. They can exchange information faster. They can receive information before visits and then gain time to dedicate it to the patients. Or they can avoid unnecessary movements and also in this case gain time. So there are a lot of benefits of better outcomes, but also better efficiency connected to this telemedicine. But in Italian context, there are also some barriers, some obstacles that makes difficult to telemedicine to spread all over the country. In particular, one of the most important barriers has to do with the organization, because some of the professionals, also 56% of them that used these telemedicine services, told us that they were additional activities to the normal ones. So they considered telemedicine such as an addition to their work, and it's not good, of course, because telemedicine has to be integrated in the work of the professional and has to do with an additional channel to reach the patients, but not an additional activity or an additional visits for them. And on the other hand, another barrier has to do with patients that are not so educated nowadays with the use of these channels and these digital technologies. So they make requests to professionals also through other channels like WhatsApp, like other apps that are used in their life for other scopes. So we are going to work as a country on these issues in order to make telemedicine easier to be introduced in next years. Also, patients see really the opportunity to use these technologies. For example, the televisit with the general practitioner or with the medical specialist, as you can see, is now used very limitedly. We are talking about 8 and 13%. But more than 80% of patients are interested in using these visits, remote visits, or telemonitoring in the next future. So they are really interested in trying these technologies in order to gain benefits from them. And they understood which are the, as I said before, the efficiency also benefits that can be gained from these technology usage. Changing arguments, another interesting theme that we analyze in our research are the healthcare apps and digital therapeutics. These are connected with telemedicine and also other themes of the research, because sometimes you, for example, you carry on telemonitoring through apps, or you can give an intervention through digital therapeutics. In Italy nowadays, there are not digital therapeutics that are approved by our regulation. although they are a reality at international level, we are just trying to understand how to overcome the obstacles that have to do with the regulatory entities involved and the pathway to be done to, let's say, make digital therapeutics a reality. But professionals also in this case are really interested in prescribing an app to their patients. So they see which are the benefits connected with not only an advice or a voluntary use of these applications, but a prescription of an application in order to make this part of the therapy for the patient. And also companies, so we are talking about mainly pharma companies, but also medtech companies in Italy are really focusing their investments, but also resources, personal resources and people to understand how to make digital therapeutics real an opportunity in Italy. They are investing in developing some software and trying to certificate them as, for example, a medical device. And they see that 36% of companies that we interviewed see the digital therapeutics as one of the highest priority for the future. But as I said before, there are some gaps, some obstacles and barriers to be overcome. And for example, the absence of reimbursability by the National Health Services, that was one of the barriers for telemedicine before COVID pandemic, have to be overcome. All, as I said before, the limited clarity of the clinical validation process. So we will see if this area of innovation will really become interesting in Italy as it is at international level. For example, in America, we see a lot of digital therapeutics approved. Second area of the recovery plan that I would like to underline is the development of digital skills for professionals, because it's really important to understand that the development and the digitalization of a system like healthcare system is not only connected with the technologies to be developed, but you have also to prepare people to use them in an appropriate way. So these investments are really focused on educate, but also give new skills to the healthcare professional in order to use properly these, for example, telemedicine systems, but also electronic health record, in order to use them properly during their work and not only adding them at a certain point of their working life. So also in this case, we have some targets, some objectives to be reached, but I would like to underline just that there are investments dedicated to prepare people to use them. In other missions of the recovery plan, there are also investments addressing people, citizens, and patients in order to develop these skills. So we are trying as a country to invest really in increasing the education of people through digital and through innovation in general. Okay, in the third investments that I mentioned before, the reinforcement of technology infrastructure, one of the most interesting aspects that we are trying to analyze as an observatory has to do with electronic health record. This is an important issue for connected care in general, for digital health in Italy, because this is a platform that operating at a national level, that tries to gather all the documents, healthcare documents and data from patients in order to be accessed by professionals, but also the patient himself. This is a theory, and this is the target, let's say, at which we are trying to arrive. Nowadays, this platform exists for all the citizens, and during the COVID pandemic, it was really important because through this platform, we accessed to Green Pass, COVID documentations, vaccine referrals, and so on. So a lot of citizens use them, and you can see the percentage increase through the last year, so more or less a 20% of increase with respect to 2021. And this was connected with what I was saying before, so with the access to COVID documentation. So this is an occasion again to understand how these platforms and digital tools can be useful for all citizens and patients. What are the main criticalities nowadays? That, as you probably know, Italy is divided in a lot of regions, and these regions that you can see in the map on the left make decisions on health and on digital health in particular. So until now, and let's say in this period, a lot of digital tools and also electronic health records had some differences through different regions. So there were not an homogeneous situation at the regional or let's say national perspective. We also had a different kind of documents that can be uploaded on this platform at the regional level. So we have difference between Puglia, let's say, in the south of Italy, and Lombardy, that is in north of Italy. So one of the main challenge for the next years is to give this, let's say, country an homogeneous way to access to documents, and to give this platform also a much more importance in gathering data that can be useful for professionals to make decisions about the patients. And also in this case, the recovery plan gives some reforms and investments specifically dedicated to the electronic health record, because this is, as I said before, one of the most important platforms to be developed in order to also connect it to other services. For example, telemedicine services can be connected to the electronic health record in order to give the patient the possibility to access them through a unique platform. This could be really important to be, let's say, reached in next years. Just to conclude my speech, I would like to report these results of a Life Science Innovation Observatory research, in which we analyze startups at an international level, not only at an Italian level, because the sample would be just too little, in order to understand how they are, let's say, how they are dividing among the different areas of innovation, like digital therapeutics, like robotics, real-world data. So some of the most interesting trends in life science sector, and how much funding they gained in the last years, in order to understand which are the strategic areas of innovation, like just looking at startups. Of course, it's not a holistic view of the innovation in this sector, but this gives us a really good point of view, because startups shape the market also in the future. So we can see which will be the market of life science in the next 3-5 years. Some of the strategic areas of innovation have to do with advanced therapeutics that are not, let's say, are not presented in this relation, because I had some minutes, but it's really an interesting deepening area of innovation that we are trying to analyze. But also artificial intelligence and all the possible applications in the healthcare system and life science sector, which are really a lot, and have to do with the decision support system for professionals, healthcare professionals, as I said before, but also for accelerating research and development of drugs and sensor and medical devices, or analyzing data in general for predictive and personalized medicine. So these are some of the most interesting areas that we are trying to analyze in next years. But also we have the sector of high attractiveness that has to do with sectors and areas in which we have a lower number of startups, but that gained a lot of fundings, as you can see on the other axis. So here we find, for example, digital therapeutics, but also in silico trial, quantum computing, that are some, let's say, focused sectors which are lower startups, maybe because there are barriers, as I said before, with the digital therapeutics that are, let's say, having obstacles to become really important in next years, but they are really interesting for all the actors of the market. So they have to be under our attention. And then there are niche markets. So some arguments that we are trying to analyze because they could be interesting in next years, but nowadays there are limited investments and actors that are trying to work on these let's say, arguments and areas of innovation actually. For example, decentralized clinical trial, we try to analyze this area of innovation. In Italy, we try to spot some examples, but they are not so diffuse, but also at the international level, they spread through COVID pandemic, but we are trying to see if in next years we will see a lot of examples with respect to the actual situation. So this could be a synthesizing map that could give us a view through the future of healthcare and life science sector. Okay, I'm glad to be here with you. I thank you for your attention, and there is my mail contact if you have questions or curiosity on this observatory and our research. So thank you very much and goodbye.
谢谢的Gisale 小姐。第3场专题演讲，接下来我们欢迎来自法国巴黎政治学院卫生主席执行委员会成员及 Etikia 创办人 David Gruson 博士做分享。Gruson 博士曾在医疗保健系统中担任过多个行政职务，包括总理卫生顾问、留宁汪大学医院院长和法国医院联合会执行董事。我们来听听他的分享。Mr. David Gruson is the Executive Director of Luminous Group Health Program, specialized in digital transformation. He's also the founder of Etikia, whose proposals on AI in health have inspired the artificial intelligence section of the revision of bioethics law and the European regulation on AI. Welcome.
Okay, so I'm delighted to be with you today for this intervention. I would like to thank very much the Taiwan Trade Center team. It's a pleasure to be with you for this Western B2B Economic Forum. I was asked to tackle, and that's the first presentation slide, the stakes of the development of AI in healthcare in Europe, and more specifically, these ethical stakes. And I will try to explain them around an explanation of the so-called human warranty principle, which is the new regulatory standard, which is bound to be implemented in Europe, which evokes the recognition of human warranty. It has to do with the French bioethics law revision process. We put forward this very idea with Etikia. I'm co-founder of Etikia and also healthcare director for Luminous, which is a French algorithmic and IT design company. And with the Etikia team, we put this idea of human warranty in order to ensure a certain degree of human oversight of AI. If you're interested in the topic, I just gave into the presentation the very references of all the work that has been done around the under the aegis of this bioethics law revision process, which was enacted in the year 2021 under the perimeter of Article 17 of this bioethics law. What is the accurate content of this human warranty principle? It's the next slide. And actually, it embarks two notions two components. The first one is, in the first place, the implementation of a prior information of the patient on the use of AI in his care, informing the patient. And the second component of this human warranty principle is the deployment of a human supervision, a human oversight of the AI solution in real life around conditions of traceability of this human oversighting process. You see the very content of this Article 17 of the French bioethics law. First part, I told you already, the patient information on the use of AI. Two useful jurisprudential exceptions have been provided for, which are urgency and, of course, impossibility of informing in certain specific cases for ER caring patients, which evokes more specifically the ways to perform this information of the patient duty on AI. And as you see, this information process has to do with the use of the data processing itself. The patients need to be informed on the data used in the processing of AI, and this also integrates a role for the designer of the algorithm itself, and these designers have to ensure that this operation delivered by AI are explicable for the users. And that's the other part of this human oversight principle. There's a clear interest, a clear pattern of oversighting under collegiality. That's what we call human warranty colleges, which integrates healthcare professionals and users of AI. And these human warranty colleges will have the duty of monitoring AI all along the way on a regular basis, and of course, accordingly, with the complexity of the AI system. Presents to you the comprehensive international definition supported by the WHO. Human warranty has been turned into an international standard, and as you can read on this slide, the definition is quite crystal clear. Responsibility can be assured by application of a human warranty, which implies evaluation by patients and clinicians in the development and deployment of AI technologies. Human warranty requires application of regulatory principles upstream and downstream of the algorithm. There's a clear need for human oversighting of AI all along the way, both at the stage of conception and implementation. And the European Commission's followed also this pathway. It's put forward in the beginning of the year 2020, and it has been turned into a project bill, a European project bill. A white paper has been endorsed by the European Commission in order to pave the way for the forthcoming draft AI regulation. And with the Etikia team, we have been audited and been by the body of experts of the European Commission, and we presented this human warranty oversighting process. The next slide presents the new rules for high-risk AI system providers, because this new draft AI regulation, European draft AI regulation, is somehow monitored under this principle of addressing AI regulation according to the level of risks embarked by the system. And this methodology is clearly linked to a certain degree of assessment of the type of risks sector by sector. What you need to understand as both algorithms consumers and as algorithms users is that this draft AI regulation is a full range draft AI because it applies to all the AI systems and not only in healthcare. But in healthcare, this use of AI is qualified as a high-risk use of AI, and it needs, therefore, a quite intense human warranty oversight, according to the level of risk embarked by the AI system. And you see this drawing, which presents the new rules for high-risk AI system providers. What's interesting to mention is the fact that a functional link has been established between this draft AI regulation and the process of CE marking. As industrials, as business developers, you know that this stage of CE marking is crucial. It conditions the ability of the system, the medical device, to be placed or not on the European market. And according to this pattern, you need to give now a proof of traceability of this human oversighting of the AI system if you want to ease the obtention of the CE marking. And if you see the right part of this scheme, you can see the mention. If substantial changes happen in the AI system's life cycle, you need to go back to step 2, which is the undergoing of the conformity assessment. And as you know quite well, there are several kinds of AI systems. The main distinction is between so-called static AI systems and machine learning AI systems. And this right side of the scheme mentioned more specifically applies to machine learning AI system. If the system evolves due to data processing during its implementation, you need to adapt your CE marking. And if you previously designed an adequate human oversight scheme, it will be easier for you to shorten the time to get this CE marking adaptation. So that's quite important to point out the fact that there is a clear link between human oversight, human warranty, the forthcoming draft AI regulation, and this process of CE marking. With maybe a more specific focus on Article 14, which embarks human oversight. I won't develop it fully, but you can see that the main idea is the fact that you need to design AI system and develop them in such a way that they can be supervised by human, and therefore human warranty is being put forward as an ethical standard of deployment of AI. Goes deeper into it, and you can see in the Article 14 that we will find once again the two main components that I earlier mentioned of this human warranty principle, the very one that we put forward with ETIKIA since 2017. In the first part, the information of users of the AI solution. In the second part, human supervision of the AI from its design phase and in a logic of continuous quality improvements in its use in real life. But the difference with the French bioethics law is, as you already understood it, this scheme now will be implemented by the beginning of the year 2025. So it's time now to get prepared for that, to all the systems of AI accordingly to their level of risks. Presents more specifically the measures in the paragraph 3rd of this Article 14. What is important to point out is this idea of being aware of the risks associated with decision support of AI. You will find there, again, this idea of informing the final users of AI. I would like to finish this presentation with the presentation of a college of human warranty, a pilot college of human warranty. We designed this with the French Union of Dental Doctors, Union Française pour la Santé Bucco-Dentaire. This is the next slide. Human Warranty College applies to Oralien. which is an AI tool which has been designed by the French company Dental Monitoring. As you see, it's an imaging recognition AI tool which point out a certain level of dental risks. It's a so-called red flagging AI system which highlights or not the need for a dental doctor to come close to the patient in order to verify the red alarm that has been declenched by the AI system. So we performed a previous ethical and legal audit, and the human warranty college is being run under this pattern, 3 meetings per year, during which we review 30 files randomly selected, which have been reviewed in a specific human oversight technological environment, which has been designed by Lumines. And these files have been reviewed by human reviewers who are dental doctors appointed by the French Union of Dental Doctors. And we checked out, that's the next slide, all along the way, the differences between the appreciation of AI and the appreciation of human. This is being operated in an environment adapted for the hosting of healthcare data, designed by Lumines, in which the files are virginized. That is to say, we erase the traces of intervention of AI, and 4 dental surgeons reviewers give their opinion along the pattern of a grid for reporting findings that we co-designed with the Union of Dental Doctors. As you see, to summarize it, the very basic methodology of human oversight is a comparison of the elements provided by AI versus the analysis of the reviewers. And on the basis of the scrutinization of these differences, we can propose or not corrective steps in order to give the traceability of a continuous quality improvement process, which, and is the final slide, which thank you for your attention, which this human oversight as a principle, as I would state as a conclusion, is on the very basically way to state it, a quality principle, a new standard of regulation of AI in order to strike an appropriate balance between the necessary development of AI of healthcare and its wonderful implementation tools and the need to regulate ethically the risks embarked by the AI system. Thank you for this attention, of course. You've got my email, and do not hesitate to reach us if you'd like to know more of this human warranty regulation of AI. Thank you.
谢谢 Gruson 博士。经过3位生技医疗趋势专家的分享，相信大家是收获满满。随着全球企业吹起 ESG 风潮，接下来我们将切换主题至绿色产业趋势与净零碳排实务。我们邀请由荷兰能源系统公司 Strukton Power 的 Usman Hassan 先生分享。该公司年收入13亿欧元，专注于智能电网、机车车辆、桥梁和所具的 E&I 系统等基础建设领域。该业者之分享有助于台湾业者了解荷兰在 ESG 及永续的努力。Mr. Usman Hassan has been working for 6 years in the renewable energy industry. He's an expert in the field of battery energy storage system. His sharing will help Taiwanese companies understand the ESG and sustainability efforts of Dutch companies. Let's welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Usman Hassan. I'm from Strukton Power, and today I will be talking about Strukton Power in European markets. A bit about my background. I've been working in renewable energy for 5 years now, and for the last 2 years, I've been working for Strukton Power, and specifically for battery energy storage systems projects. And I help Strukton Power in looking for investments and developing solutions for companies within Europe to actually meet the European demands for energy and meet for the future goals. my goal with the presentation is that we can look at the opportunities we have in the European market together and see how companies in Taiwan and enterprise in Taiwan can contribute in reaching our goal. So for the agenda today is zero emissions in EU and Netherlands. I talk about how Europe has set goals and for the zero emissions, how Stockholm Power contributes to goals within EU, what do we do, how do we do it, and who we work with to meet the goals with EU, our projects and business opportunities for Taiwan enterprises. Here are some examples of the project that we are doing, what challenges we face, and what kind of opportunities companies in Taiwan can have. And then I talk about Europeans' dependence on renewable energy and battery energy storage systems. That BESS is a short form for battery energy storage systems. Here we'll learn more about how we are depending on renewable energy in Europe, and again, what type of opportunities we will have to contribute towards these goals. And at the end, I will talk about suggestions for Taiwanese enterprises specifically. It will be a picture of what we are done and what type of opportunities we can have. So starting now for zero emissions in EU and Netherlands. So Europe itself has been working towards policies that can be fit to meet the demands for cutting the greenhouse gas emissions. So they make policies for forestation, for renewable energy, and all 27 member countries work together and share the chair to meet these requirements. And the limit that has been set for 2030 is 55% reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions. And for Netherlands, it has been the most ambitious goal for 49% for reducing the greenhouse gas emissions and 95% by 2050. So learning about that, if we now look how Stockholm Power, my company, is contributing to goals within EU. Our forte has three departments: power electronics, grid solution, and digital twin. For power electronics, what we do is that we make our own power electronics and we use that those building blocks to make high-tech solutions like battery energy storage systems. And once we are done in that, or maybe traction drives, whatever those solutions are, once we are going to implement those solutions, we use our own power electronics and develop our own power electronics. Grid solution is a department which focuses towards working with the companies or TSOs, transmission service providers, and we help in setting up grid substations and high voltage networks. And our department, once like the system, like battery energy storage system, when we develop it, they help in putting it and install it. So civil installation works. Digital twins is something like on railway tracks, when you know where your railway carriage is. So that is position-based system. So we can track the positions, remotely monitor it. This is what digital twin does. These are the three main departments Stockholm Power is. Our sister company, Stockholm Rail, they are Europe's biggest contractor for maintaining railway tracks and railway overhead lines. So they have subsidiaries in Italy, France, Belgium, Sweden, and Netherlands. What they do is that they have heavy equipment. These can be up to 20 foot or 18 foot, as big as a volleyball court. And these machines actually make sure the tracks are in place, and we feel safe when we drive, or overhead lines when they're under construction, so they turn off. So they're heavily dependent on sometimes on diesel equipment or electric equipment, which is charged by batteries. So these are and we are helping them actually meet the climate goals of using all electric equipment or zero emission equipment by 2030. So they can't really use these diesel equipment by the end of 2030 because of the European requirements and Netherlands requirements as well. So this is a business opportunity which Stockholm Power took, and our projects are heavily focused towards reducing these diesel locomotives and diesel equipment off the railway network. And we help the Stockholm Rail to actually meet the requirements. And this is what our opportunities for Taiwanese enterprises will be. I will talk about the project Sukton Battery Locomotive. I'm the lead for the project as well. So this was an R&D project. If you see on the left, there is this locomotive, which is in yellow, probably you can see it, and it has a very long freight in the back. So usually it works on, it's an electric locomotive, and it takes energy from the overhead line. So what happens is that once that overhead line runs out, or when you do not have overhead line, or there is no voltage because of maintenance, we need to have a solution in which we can move this locomotive with 300 tons of weight behind it to a spot. So for 4 kilometers or 10 kilometers. So we did some calculations. We saw, okay, we have to do some low speed movement or low speed shunting. And for the last mile, this is for a last mile battery solution. So we put, if you look here, we have this container, which is a 20-foot container on a 60-foot wagon. We place all the batteries inside, all the hardware equipment, electrical hardware equipment inside it. And with 250 kilowatt hour of battery storage, we are able to operate it for more than an hour. And for this specific project, our challenges were finding the right battery suppliers. The catch here is that the equipment we have to use should be railway standards, and railway standards are really high in regards to the G-shock. So shock and vibration, it should be 5G. And although it should be maintainable and should be fire safe, and it should contain fire for 15 minutes. And you cannot actually operate in tunnels if you're not of a certain fire limit. So we really had struggle finding the right equipment. Now we are working with the suppliers in Germany, and the delivery times are really high. And I will show you in the next slide how that container looks like. That's an energy storage system, and I will point out what type of equipment that we are interested in. So here you see the 20-foot container. We have fine ventilation, so it should be cooled down. It has connection on both ends, so it can be connected from both sides. It has a safety switch so that we can maintain it. But the important thing that you have to see now is that energy density of the batteries. So you see there are two on this side. They have two batteries. There are two battery systems. There's this e-boxes, so the connection systems, and these battery systems are their energy density is quite low because of the shock and vibration, and they're 2 tons in weight, so it's high in weight. So we are looking for smart solutions in future, and these are lithium-based batteries. And if you look now, this part is coolers for the batteries, and this is magnetics, which is also again relying on the delivery system, the delivery part. And these two cabinets, I will show a bit. These two cabinets are where all our power electronics is, which I will talk about a bit later. So the next project that I'm going to talk about is diesel cranes to electric cranes. So these cranes, you see, they are specifically designed to actually operate on railway tracks. And this is one of the, they are like around 50 or around that, with Strukton Rail have in fleet, in their fleet, and all of them are diesel. So for them, it's very easy to carry diesel to the sites and use it. And if they run out of diesel, they can actually put diesel in. But the challenge now would be is that by the end of this 2030, they cannot actually use these cranes anymore because they are diesel. Either they're quite functioning quite well, but either they convert them to electric or they buy new electric cranes, which are available in market, but the delay or getting them is 5 or 6 years from now. So the best solution was that find a way to electrify them. So what we proposed to them that we remove the diesel motor and we replace it with electrical motor, and we, instead of diesel tank, we charge it with iron phosphate batteries. So basically car batteries, and we provided them with 2 solutions. Either we can have a removable batteries which are placed on top and you can charge them somewhere else, or you can charge them like your Tesla and put the batteries inside the space that we have in the crane. that was a challenge, a mechanical challenge again, looking for right kind of motor, right kind of converters, which can actually fit into heavy equipment. So we are looking now into right kind of partners to help us supply this kind of equipment in short time so that we can start working. But the major focus was we had 360 kilowatt hour of battery storage, and we could work 10 hours with single charge with full load. So that was a challenge that we did. And we were looking towards, again, looking at these challenges and looking towards partnering with people, coming up with smart solutions. Okay, and the next topic is Europe's dependence on renewable energy and battery energy storage systems. How we see that now is that renewable energy as Europe's backbone. So in the past decade, the cost of generating renewable energy has decreased many folds. If you see now that solar was 0.40 US dollars per kilowatt hour, now it's around 10. So looking at that, Netherlands and the European Parliament actually backing up the renewable energy goal for 2030. So it's 45% production or dependence on renewable energy by 2030, and Netherlands' goal for being 100% renewable by 2050. Also, the current gas prices is not helping Europe right now. So the thing with renewable energy is that it is very widely available. We have a lot of wind turbines, we have a lot of solar plants, but the thing is that at some point it creates there is so much renewable energy, but the grid is not sufficient, so that creates congestion on the grid. And we believe, and what Europe believes as well, that energy storage is a solution. How we see that is that if you look at if you forecast renewable energy, it's quite hard to predict, because you have solar. If you have a bright sunny day, you have 8 hours of sun or something, and then during night you do not have that. So what you can do is actually depend on solar when there is sun, and actually when you have surplus of solar, you can actually charge your batteries. And that's what the Netherlands is actually going to support by 54 gigawatt of energy storage capacity by 2050, just to support these renewables in the grid. And that's why, hence, the battery energy storage systems are in place. And there are 4 applications that I will talk about in this slide. So if you have a battery energy storage system, the one that I showed you in the video, it's similar to that, and you can connect it to the grid. In that case, when I was in the video, it was connected to a railway locomotive. But now you can, if you think that the 20-foot container, but with higher energy density, you can actually store up to 1 megawatt or 2 megawatt easily in that 20-foot container. So when you have, let's say you have your own power plant, you have surplus of energy, you can store that in your own battery bank and just rely on that battery bank when you need it. So you do not rely on the grid anymore. So that's microgrid, isolated sites. You can depend on battery energy storage system for surplus of your energy. Grid support. So grid support, you can, I will talk about it a bit more, but in simple words is that if you're looking toward congestion again, you have surplus of energy, and then you want to predict at night, you want to supply that energy, so you can store that energy and supply it later on. So that's what we can do with grid support. We can help with congestion. Behind the meter energy management, that's something which all European households do. So we have solar panels on our houses. We charge them, and we sell the energy back to the grid using our own smart metering. And once we don't need that, we use that by ourselves and then sell it back to the grid. So it's quite common using behind the meter energy management. It's on every household. And there they have, instead of selling it to the grid, you can actually save it. So that's something you can do. And renewable energy production management, again, that's something, if you have, Denmark is investing in an island where they will produce a lot of offshore wind energy, and they will store that energy in battery banks and then later provide it to their mainland. So there are a lot of ideas, but Europe is actually focusing towards battery energy storage system in future. But I will talk about grid support in a bit more. So energy trading, that's something now Belgium and all mainland Europe, Belgium, the Benelux region, Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, they're investing a lot. It's like we buy the energy from the grid at 20 cents per kilowatt hour. We store that energy in a battery bank. The minute the price of energy goes to 40 cents per kilowatt hour, we start to sell that energy which we just stored. That's energy trading that we do in grid support. Congestion management, I talked about a bit more a bit earlier. It's the same. We have 55 kilowatt hour or gigawatt hours of energy being produced by, let's say, by wind turbines in a day, and your grid can support only 33. So the rest can be stored in battery energy storage system. And when the wind turbine is, let's say, wind turbines and solar panels are down, you can support the 22 more when it's not available. That's congestion management. Peak shaving, I have a very nice figure for that. Peak shaving is, imagine we are in our office and all of my colleagues come to the office and start charging their car while I'm actually, we have our load, we have a lab setup here as well, so they're actually using energy. So we have this peak demand at 9 o'clock. From 9 to 11, let's say. And what we can do with smart charging is that we have this battery energy storage system, which stores the energy and which can supply energy later on when there is a high demand. So we can actually balance that demand curve. It's in a very simple way. It's being done actually with smart charging all over Europe, and it's quite common now because there is not enough grid capacity. In order to get connection to the grid, you have to apply 2 years in advance. So that's something the TSO, the transmission service operator, does that by itself, and they hire us to actually, once they have the permit, they hire us to actually start working on the installation side. But we do not take care of the permit. The permit is then taken care of by the TSO. So that's what we are heavily depending on the grid storage system in Europe and how we can actually tackle a few things. There are other things that can be discussed, but I tend to focus on these things. So what we predict now that by the year 2030, only in Netherlands, we predict 750 megawatts of battery energy storage systems in the grid. So, and the companies are heavily investing, and we are actually looking for partners who can either provide us the containers. Actually, I will show you in the next slide what is our prototype that we are building now. So we buy the container and batteries from a supplier in China, and then we put our own power electronics in it. And this container can be 10 containers or 20 containers that can be connected together and can supply to the grid, or can be connected to the solar panels and then store the energy and supply to the grid. So they're easy to connect. They're portable. They can do all the things that I just said. And yeah, the challenge is for us, again, find high powered batteries in a very short amount of time and can be delivered, and they are actually compatible with our systems. So that's something we're looking into. But the problem, it's not just here. Our challenges are not just here. There are other equipments as well. So our basic equipment when we make these systems are power modules. These are in-house developed power modules that we built by ourselves, which have different functionalities depending on the power required. So if you see, there's a low power module which can take up to 400 kilowatts of power. Then we have medium power module which can take 800 kilowatts of power, and for high power we have up to 1600 kilowatt hour. And each power module is built up of IGBTs and specific PCBs and semiconductor and switches. And we have to rely on our suppliers, and now we are actually working with a supplier in Netherlands who imported from China. But we heavily rely on these equipment to actually make these power modules, and we have orders of 200 or 100 even, depending on the type of the requirement, because each power module can be used as a traction drive. So for railway, and each actually they were built for railway, now being used in the battery energy storage or in substation and grids now. So they're high quality modules which are placed in now grid as well. So that's why we have high demand for this. But then we really depend on these kind of materials to be delivered so that we can meet our demands. They are built in our production facility in Enschede. So again, there is an opportunity where there is a challenge, there is an opportunity, and we really looking forward to collaborate with people, with companies in Taiwan. So suggestion for the Taiwanese enterprises, I would say, is look at what we are doing now. So what I've told you now, it's a full cycle. We do our own power electronics, then we build our own energy storage. Once we have built that energy storage, we actually install that energy storage in a specific grid setting, and we can also monitor these by our remote monitoring. So if you look now, if you're interested in energy storage, talk to us. If you're interested in just converters, talk to us. If you are interested in heavy high-tech solutions which are installation to the grid, talk to us. And if you're looking into data monitoring, these are all opportunities which can be in which we are actually looking to partner up with the right kind of people who can provide us good quality solutions which we can build together. And our goal at the end is to actually meet the green initiative that EU has. And there is a lot of demand right now to actually to take part in the European grid right now. So I hope that we can actually partner up in future with Taiwanese enterprises. And if you want to get in touch, please get in touch with me or Michel Strasse, our sales manager. And even if you get in touch with me, if you have questions, I can get in touch with the right person, so where we can actually talk in future. I'm very hopeful that this was informative, and hopeful that we can work together in future. Thank you.
谢谢哈桑先生。接下来是最后一场专题，我们邀请到西班牙纳瓦拉自治区经济商业发展厅工业能源暨专案计划处处长Idois Marinella Lena 乌雪小姐，主讲能源转型议题，向我国业者分享作为欧洲最大风力发电厂之一的纳瓦拉自治区，在推动洁净能源与对抗气候变迁的努力过程，并寻求与更多台湾业者合作推动环保工作之机会。Last keynote speech, let's welcome Ms. Idois Marinella Lena Uche, the General Director of Industry, Energy and Strategy Projects S3 of the Department of Economic and Business Development of the Government of Navarra to share the issue of clean energy and how to combat climate change. Also, to seek opportunities to collaborate with more Taiwanese companies to promote environmental protection. Let's welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this event. I am Suitois. I am the General Director of Energy, Industry and Research and Development Projects. I'm working in the government of Navarra, and today's speech is about energy regarding our direct competence in this field. Here I'm going to share my screen. One moment. I will start with a context of some features of Navarra. I will continue with law and administrative process that each wind and photo plant have to meet to be authorized site. And I will finish with the energy transition measures that we are taking for improve our efficiency. Regarding Navarra, we are a small region. We are in the north of Spain. It is in border with France. That is to say, connecting us with the rest of Europe. Navarra has a strategic position between Atlantic and Mediterranean Sea. Here you can see our main features. Navarra is an industrial region where more than 31% of our gross domestic product comes from industry. Most of our companies are SMEs. As you can see that we are a small region with not a lot of inhabitants. We have the third highest gross domestic product per capita in Spain. We have one of the lowest unemployment rate in Spain, and we have our own taxation system. This is an important aspect because we are allowed to introduce tax deduction for energy efficiency measures. Regarding starting with the renewable energy topic, in the European context, you can see that our aim is to achieve the climate neutrality by 50-50. The first step was in 2016 with Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement was a very important landmark because for the first time, one agreement related to climate brings all the nations into a common cause. In 2020, the European Commission stated the European Climate Change Law, the Green Deal, with this zero net emission by 2050 for all the member states. In summer of 2021, the European Commission declared the Fit for 55 measures. This is a revision of climate, energy, and transport legislation in order to align current law with this important aim by 2050. We now have the Repower EU. This Repower EU is a plan for saving energy, for producing clean energy, for diversifying our energy supplies, and it is backed by financial and legal measures to build a new energy infrastructure and system that Europe needs. This Repower EU was redacted in 2022, and now because of the conflict with Russia, we have the Safe Gas for Winter. The Commission is proposing a new legislative tool and the European gas demand reduction plan to reduce gas, at least in Europe, by 15% until next spring. In Spanish context, we also have the Energy and Climate Frame. We have the Integrated National Energy and Climate Plan, and we also have the Climate Change and Energy Transition Law that includes the Just Transition Strategy, the Poverty Energy Strategy, and the 2050 Long-Term Strategy. Here you can see the goals regarding electricity. This plan details the amount of electricity power that we need to achieve these goals. That is to say 161 gigawatts in Spanish context. You can see here by technologies how much we need in each technology. For example, in wind power, we need 50 gigawatts of energy by 2030. Sorry. In Navarra context, currently in Navarra, we are renewing the energy plan because it was redacted in 2018, and as you can see in the European context, the things are very different now from 2018. So we are renewing it in this moment. But we also have the climate change roadmap since 2018. We are state of climate energy in 2019. We have the climate change and energy transition law since this April, and we also have the Navarra Wind React and Next Generation grants for the implementation for all these measures that we have to do to achieve the zero emission by 2050. In Navarra, we also have the S4 strategy. This is the smart specialization strategy, and this is the main frame that we have for for the economic transformation and to become a reference region in Europe. And now we have this S4 because before December we have the S3, but this 4S is this another S more is because we include sustainability aspect. We also have the green hydrogen roadmap. For 2030, the goal is to have installed at least 150 megawatts, especially thinking in this segment of industry that has difficulties for electrification. The agenda is committed to an horizon of hydrogen penetration that replaces at least 50% of industrial consumption. Also, we think that we can build at least 3 hydrogen stations for transport by 2030. And to achieve all of this, we have 6 lines of work, 41 lines of actions, and we have a very important part in research and development fields for promotion and improve our industrial ecosystem regarding hydrogen. We also have the Immobility Roadmap or agenda. The automotive sector in Navarra is the first industrial sector in importance, with more than 120 companies and 30,000 jobs, depending on it. This push of electric mobility is a way for the industries, and we need to achieve at least a portion of market penetration of electric vehicles. The aim is that at least 20% of our annual registered vehicles have to be electrical. Also, we would like to have a cohesive and reliable public access recharging infrastructure. We are working on it. We would like to complete a network of 200 public access recharging points. This agenda or this e-mobility roadmap is until 2024 because we have it's a short action plan. And now we also have an objective regarding the tourism in Navarra. We have the aim that a tourism in Navarra with a minimal carbon footprint, because this cohesive and reliable public access recharging infrastructure, we think that have to be linked between not only for inhabitants but also for tourists. And also, and as always, we have the research and development aspect in this part of the mobility, not only in electric vehicles in the industry and the change that industries have to apply to pass from the cars that we have nowadays to the electrical cars, but also for the recharging infrastructure. Okay, we are also working in energy communities, and we have a law that regulation for allow this energy community in our region. Okay, you can see here the grant that we have to supporting all of this aspect that I said before, and we have the Green Navarra strategy with a lot of measures. Okay, regarding futures, we have a renewable energy sector in Navarra is very important. Navarra is a world leader in renewable energy. We were the first that built a wind farm in Spain. It was in 1993. And we have a very important research and development and talent regarding renewable energy in Navarra. We have more than 10,000 jobs that come from a renewable energy sector. And we are in the second place in talent rotation. So that is maybe we thought that have to be with the research and development that we have regarding renewable energies. Okay. You can see here how we waste energy. We have, as you can see, on the biggest consumer is the industry sector. We have the gross domestic product regarding industry that I said before, 31%. So the 37% of the consumption comes from industry. The second one is the transport. So we know that our goal nowadays is to reduce industry and transport consumption. Regarding the administrative process, for installing a new wind or photovoltaic farm in Spain, you need to have a grid access. This could be a bottleneck because there are not grid connection modules everywhere. In order to solve this bottleneck, Spain developed a law in 2020. The objective of this law was to accelerate the energy transition in Spain, and it was called Energy Measures for Economic Recovery. This law aim was to free up grid connection modules, and after the approval of this law, developers had to choose between two options. They could start the administrative process to obtain the authorization, or they have to leave the grid connection free. After the law passed around June 2020, 15% of developers left their projects. So the modules, they free up modules connection, and the other 85% started the administrative process to achieve the authorization. So now, yes, we as an industry department in our regional context, we are the legal coordination of this administrative process. That is to say, a kind of one-stop shop. So we coordinate all the authorization process, and the process starts when a developer submits an application. The first step is to make sure that the project is technically feasible, and after that we have to make it public. Public information period is at least 30 days, and during this period of time, all people and entities can offer input. Once the period information has finished, we give back all the input, not only the affected entities, but also the developer. The project developer with all input can change or improve the project, and after this moment, we have the final version of the draft. We, as a legal coordination, as this one-stop shop, compile the environmental statement and territorial management statements. Only when both of them are positive, the project will be authorized. That is to say, that could be built. After this process, before this change in the law in 2020, this regarding the grid models, we have in Navarra 1 gigawatt of wind farms and 100 megawatts of photovoltaic farms. After this, a lot of projects springs because there were more modules free. And nowadays we have under evaluation another gigawatts of wind farms and 1 gigawatt of photovoltaic farms. So we have a lot of the developers have interest in build new projects, and we have a lot of work for evaluation and to see if they can be built or they can be built or not. Okay, and in conclusion, we are working also in the energy transition. We have grants for self-consumption. For primary sector, we are working with them, applying different kinds of solution for change their way to obtain energy from fossil fuels to renewable energy. We have this Immobility plan that I said before. We are working with SMEs, especially in efficiency. We have this tax deduction system for self-consumption, for immobility, that is very good and is working good regarding like a kind of way that allow the SMEs, also the private people, to invest in renewable energies. We are also waiting in heating plants We also are working with tourism, and we also are working with local authorities. Because in conclusion, we are convinced that this strategy will allow us to be more competitive in a long term as a region. With this measure, we are decreasing the dependence on the fossil fuels. And since 2019, we are starting with self-consumption. It has increased from 21 in 2019 until 65 megawatts nowadays. And we know that self-consumption is going to increase more because we have given aids for more than 6 million in this year. That is to increase in at least 31 megawatts more the power of self-consumption. So regarding self-consumption industry also is the sector which is applying more in their energy transition, but people, common people, inhabitants, the domestic sector is the second one with 10 megawatts installed. And this is because society also wants to change their own energy model and they are thinking in renewable energies. So this is more or less this quick overview about Navarra. If you need more information or if you want to have another meeting with me, I will be more than happy to explain you all that have to be with renewable energy, and I hope you have found interesting my presentation. And for me, as always, a pleasure speak about Navarra efficiency measures and energy transition measures. So thank you very much, and we will see soon.
谢谢5位讲师精彩的分享，相信今天的专题演讲一定让各位参加的业者收获满满。未来针对拓销欧洲医疗器材与绿色产业领域有更多的启发。再次谢谢您的参与。Thank you for all the 5 speakers for your talks. I believe all the Taiwan participants benefit a lot from today's keynote speeches. Thank you for your participation again.